Hey guys, this is Ed from Mission Ed Possible, where I take on life-improving gamified challenges. This is my Food Appreciation Challenge, Episode 3. And with me today, I have my kid Milo, who is helping me with this challenge.
Hello.
So we've had a couple episodes now, and we've had some good results and some challenging results.
It was the best of times and the worst of times.
So if you're curious what's going on with this, be sure to watch the first video in the series where we explain all the rules and what's going on with this. To kind of reiterate, I am what's considered a picky eater. I don't eat a lot of things that most people eat. And with this challenge, I'm trying to help that by forcing myself to eat things.
And try things.
And you know, for this I needed help. So that's why I enlisted Milo here to help me with this. You're one that pretty much eats just about everything. So
most things. If I don't necessarily eat everything, I'll at least try pretty much anything. Because you never know. If you try something, you might end up liking it. So I try to keep an open mind.
So one of the things I like to do is travel. And one of the problems with traveling and being a picky eater is that food can be a real problem in foreign countries. And you know, one year I went to China and I was very, very afraid about food because they eat weird stuff there. And weird to me at least, okay? Before I went out there, I told the people that I was going to be visiting, it was for work, but I told my coworkers that treat me like a little kid that doesn't eat anything. And don't force me to eat anything. Don't try to sneak anything on, basically kind of giving them the ground rules. And thankfully they were very, very understanding about that.
And accommodating.
And so they took me to stuff that was relatively safe and
safe for you.
Safe for me. And I tried a few things and I actually had a pretty good time of it. But the one thing, what?
Didn't you try like hot pot and like those dumplings that are like full of broth?
Yeah, xiaolongbao. Yeah. Xiaolongbao. Anyway, and I actually had a pretty good time. Yes, I tried some things that I normally haven't eaten, and it actually opened my horizons a bit. To be honest, there was a lot of things that I probably would not have tried before going there, and now it's like, oh, okay, yeah, I've tried some of that, and it was okay. I had actually noodles at a kind of a ramen kind of place, and it was just like, all right, this is the way it comes, and I ate it. So,
like with all the vegetables and everything.
It was
around it.
It was pretty much like
pretty basic.
It was pretty basic actually, but it was very like hearty and stuff. It was actually tasted really good. So to prepare for my trip, just because I knew that I was going to have issues, or I thought I was going to have issues, is I packed basically a case of Power Bars into my suitcase.
Just in case.
Just in case. Well, I'm happy to say that I actually didn't have to even open one. I was able to eat the food there and not starve. So that's a good thing.
Unlike some of your previous trips you've taken.
Yes, which I will go into in another video. Well, what do we have today?
All right. Well, the first thing we're going to start with, I shall start by pouring the tea.
Okay.
And then we'll start with the food.
The tea.
The tea. So this tea actually is stuff that you got for me when you were in China.
Okay.
I'm a big fan of green tea and tea in general. And so when he was in China, he brought back a few souvenirs for me. This one is a Yanyin tea, or a Yayin tea. Yeah. Yayin tea. I believe that's how it's pronounced, but
okay.
Who knows? I like it, and you have never tried it before, so we're gonna have you try it, and it'll just kind of go along with your meal. So
okay,
I'll
sounds
just
good.
Get you some going.
One thing about my pickiness, it really doesn't span into drinks for whatever reason.
Yes, clinkies.
Yeah, it's like. What? Flavored water.
It's generally after like the initial first like second, you get a little bit more flavor going on there.
Okay.
It's, kind of just to go along with your meal. It's not anything crazy. Here you are.
Okay.
So these are chicken vegetable pot stickers.
Okay.
Or dumplings, whatever you would like to call them. I know that in the past you have eaten and enjoyed like meat-filled fried pot stickers or like fried dumplings where they're crispy all over. But I'm not sure if you've had much in the way of pan-fried ones. So these are pan-fried, so they're a little different, and they are chicken and vegetables, so they'll be a little bit different. And there's a dipping sauce there for you as well. It's kind of a salty, sweet sort of dipping sauce.
Okay. Yeah, it looks pretty meaty. It's got a little bit, not much.
Green and meaty.
No problem.
No problem. All right.
There's not much in there though.
Yeah, well.
Really, they're kind of, no, I mean, there's a little bit of green stuff in there, but stuff like that, it's usually I'm pretty good with.
Okay. Well, at least you get something that you get to enjoy.
I'm just going to eat these. I'm going to give this a 9. These pot stickers are actually one of those things that I've actually started eating recently, within the last few years.
This is a winter melon soup with a pork and shiitake mushroom broth.
Okay.
So winter melon is basically a squash. I mean, it is a squash. So
it's not like a honeydew melon kind of sweet
the texture is going to be kind of similar to a pretty ripe honeydew melon.
Okay.
But I wouldn't say that the flavor resembles it too much. It's going to be very, very mild.
Oh.
So as far as like, it's not going to have like strong flavor. From what I've been told, I guess in China, people don't generally have like just glasses of water at the table with their meals. So they'll often have like tea and like a very plain soup to go along with the meal instead of just like water.
So you said this is a squash?
Or it's called winter melon, but squash and melon are in the same fam. They're the same things anyway. They are both in the cucurbit family, Cucurbitaceae.
Check out the big brain on Milo.
Squash, pumpkin. I mean, pumpkin is a squash. Melon of all kinds. Cucumbers. They are all they are all cucurbits.
Well, doesn't seem like it has much of a flavor on its own. Tastes more like just the broth, but
yeah,
let's go back for some pork.
Yeah. And shiitake mushrooms are going to be a little different than, I guess, the other mushrooms you've tried so far. But I think they're pretty good, though. They're a little bit chewy.
My spoon does not want to cut this mushroom.
Previously dried mushrooms will be generally chewier than fresh ones. So they are rehydrated, dried shiitakes. Shiitakes are very popular.
Okay.
Shiitake are very popular. Shiitakes. I'm not sure what the plural of shiitake is. Is that like sheep?
Well, I don't taste much other than the broth. The texture is very weird.
Yeah, they're gonna have a weirder texture when they've been rehydrated than when they're fresh, but even fresh ones are gonna be kind of chewy.
Reminds me of a lychee, the texture.
A lychee? I guess I could kind of see that, like the kind of rubbery,
it's like rubbery.
chewy. Yeah. have to like chew it a little bit more.
Yeah, I'm like
extra.
rubber. Yeah, and the same reason like the lychee, where you're chewing it and it doesn't want to break. The fibers kind of don't want to break, and you're kind of.
Yeah.
I mean, I guess you just swallow it at a certain point.
I think so.
Because I'm like still chewing.
I mean, that's what I do for myself. I chew it a bit and then I'm just like, all right, this is good enough.
I mean, I don't feel like I'm making any progress with the chewing. Okay, well, I've eaten all of the things.
You've eaten all the ingredients, yes.
Okay, so I'll do a rating here. Well, one thing I will say is having mushrooms from the previous episode, I will say did help me with this one.
That's good.
I mean, I know it's a different type, but I guess they were a little less scary. So that's kind of part of this deal. Granted, the texture is definitely...
It's different.
Yeah.
It is a different type of mushroom, and it was also previously dehydrated. So.
Right. We'll go with a 5. It wasn't horrible. I mean, truly, if I was served that, I probably would just eat the pork out of it. Like currently, I mean, I wouldn't avoid it altogether, but I mean, the pork was good, and the broth tastes good because it's probably picking up most of the pork flavor, not the melon or the mushroom, but
a bit on the mushroom probably.
You think? Okay, but it wasn't bad. I mean, it wasn't like it was offensive or anything.
And I can actually eat this one too, so I'm gonna have some.
Okay. So we have rice. Yes, I like rice.
This is just a stir fry.
Okay.
It's got beef and mushrooms, green beans, and bell peppers in it. And then of course, onions, garlic, spices, soy sauce,
Okay.
Nothing too crazy, but I figured we'd have
These are green beans, you said?
Yes.
Okay. And then these are red
bell peppers.
Red bell peppers, so they're going to be a little bit, like
just
more
slightly
bitter?
More bell peppery than,
bell pepper.
than the yellow ones.
Okay.
I wouldn't say bitter, but more
Bell peppery.
Yeah.
Go with the easy thing. Oh, what's this here? The skin thing.
That's a piece of onion.
Oh,
so
onion.
I purposely left the pieces of onion a little bit bigger because I know that normally you only like minced onions.
Okay. Well, I know I like the steak, so I'm gonna try some steak with onion on it. That's one of the things that I'd really like to be able to eat because it's a common thing.
Having big pieces of onion?
Well, bigger than minced, but like for like Philly cheesesteaks or something.
Yeah, he likes the flavor of onions, but not so much the texture of onions. So
since that was really cooked, that was not a big deal.
It helps.
Compared to like raw kind of onions, which are really crunchy.
And then green beans, you've been okay with like fried green beans that have soy sauce and sesame seeds on them. So I figured throwing them in a stir fry
should be
work.
Fine. Should be fine. What kind of mushrooms are these?
Those are baby portobello mushrooms. What'd you get there? Bell pepper?
I'm gonna go with an 8.
Nice.
I actually like the bell peppers more than I thought I would.
Well, that's good.
The mushrooms, I think you had mentioned it before, it's kind of like meat in a way. It's kind of a...
I wouldn't say the texture is like meat. I'd say the flavor is a little bit closer to meat.
It just has a, it's not...
But it's mostly because they just absorb all the flavors that the meat is cooked in. The texture, I guess, is...
Kind of reminds me of like chicken. The flavor, the texture of it a little bit. It's like firm.
Really squishy.
It's firm though. It's not super squishy. So I mean, it kind of reminds me of like really tender chicken. Like
yeah, I guess what I was meaning by squishy is like not fibrous.
No, it's not.
Yeah.
That's the one thing as opposed to, say, like the green
Yes.
beans or the other vegetables where it's
Yeah.
fibrous. It doesn't have a fibers in it, really. It's more.
Mushrooms are actually more closely related to animals than they are to plants. Their structure is actually made of chitin, which is like what bugs and crabs and things like that make their exoskeletons out of. They make it out of chitin. So mushrooms, in a plant, they've got all those cells that like stay rigid and hold up the plant and everything. They have those made out of cellulose in a plant, which makes them stay crunchy. In like a mushroom, those stiff, rigid cell structures are made of chitin. And so when you cook them, they tend to break down. So they get squishy.
Is this dessert?
Yes.
Oh. I think I know what this is.
What do you think it is?
2 lumps of something.
Of something. Well, you are correct. Have you ever tried mochi before?
Oh, this is mochi?
It is mochi. It's not mochi ice cream. It is mochi. So it doesn't have ice cream in the middle. It just
I
has
was
a
going to say,
normal
is it cold?
It is probably coldish. I had them in the fridge.
It's squishy.
They are squishy. Do you know what mochi is?
Isn't it
would you like
rice?
to know what it is?
Isn't it made from rice?
Yeah, it's like a rice dough stuff
Right.
that they
Squishy.
make by pounding rice for like a really long time to where it gets really, really stretchy and squishy. And
Oh, is there something inside?
it's a filling. So these are matcha flavored. So they're a green tea matcha kind of thing going on. But yeah, a lot of times they'll put different fillings in there. Sometimes they're sweet. Sometimes they're only like kind of sweet.
Yeah, these are kind of, I would say, kind of sweet. They're not
Yeah.
super sweet, which is fine.
Yeah, like one that is pretty popular is a red bean paste, which is it's bean paste, but it's like slightly sweet. And I don't know, that one's pretty popular, as well as the matcha, and you can get a bunch of different flavors. But I really like mochi. Most people that I know usually are familiar with mochi ice cream, but not with mochi. And mochi ice cream is good, but it doesn't have nearly as much of the mochi
stuff. Yeah,
on the
exactly,
outside.
exactly.
It's
I'm
like a
actually-
very thin layer and then ice cream in the middle. I'm
Actually-
like, no, I want the squishy.
Yeah, actually, I think I maybe prefer this over the ice cream. to be honest.
That's how I feel. I like the squishy chewiness of it.
I don't know if I've ever actually had matcha before.
It's how do I describe matcha?
Isn't it kind of like a powdered green tea?
Yeah, it's like a specific type of powdered green tea, and a lot of times it's made in a very specific way. Like you like whisk it with a liquid and stuff, and like
Because it's like a
something about you
drink,
can't.
right?
Yeah, it's a drink. It's like a way of drinking green tea, I guess, but it's not like this where you steep it. It's like much stronger and stuff because you have it powdered.
Concentrated.
Yeah. And there's whole ceremonies associated with matcha. Like tea ceremonies that you see where they're all like going through the specific like steps, I believe is usually using matcha. But
Okay.
it's like a whole, you have to be trained in it to do these ceremonies because there's like a very specific
your
process. And
Matcha certification.
it's, I don't know how to describe it other than it's almost like a meditative kind of ceremony as far as it's a ceremony. It's not like an activity that you just do. It's like,
It's a thing.
it's a thing. Yes.
Okay, so we gotta go for a rating. So probably not a surprise here. I like that. That was tasty, especially the texture on it. It's definitely kind of unique. Okay, well, I ate everything today.
Yeah, you did.
Some of it I ate all of it. No
Yeah.
gagging. No
gagging.
There was some new stuff in there. Not everything was new. This was, not too bad actually. I actually ate Well, I guess the soup was probably the most new, I guess. Hope you enjoyed watching me eat this episode. There wasn't really much suffering this time, which I'm totally happy with, even though there was some new stuff. But if you did, be sure to like the video. If you'd like to see more of this challenge or any of my other challenges, as always, be sure to hit subscribe and ring the bell. I post new videos at least once a week.
Describe a tea ceremony correctly. I don't really know that much about matcha. Please correct me in the comments
What do you know
below.
What do you know about matcha? Post down below. So with that,
All right. Well, we will see you in the next adventure.